we were in Prabhupada's room once, in the early 70s. I was sannyasi, so maybe 73, 74. And it was a beautiful afternoon. The sun was setting, and golden rays were shining on Prabhupada. It was very sublime. A nice breeze was blowing. It was a very beautiful atmosphere. And Prabhupada took us back to old India, the turn of the century, and when he was a child, when he was a young householder. And he took us there, actually, and he began to talk about how people used to work and relationships between householders and their servants, and how people used to cook and things. So there we were back in India with Prabhupada. And then he took us back farther to his early childhood, when he was playing with, not playing, but having the Rath Yatra and worshiping Radha Govinda. And then only Karandar and I were in the room. And Prabhupada looked at us very strongly and said, whatever I'm doing now, I was doing then. Do you understand? And of course we were at that point kind of speechless. And then Prabhupada said, never was there a time when I did not know Krishna. Do you understand? And he said it in such a way that it was clearly the case. So that was a very powerful experience.
Whenever Prabhupada talked about anything, somehow or another, he could link it to Krishna consciousness and derive some kind of spiritual point from it. For instance, when we were in India, he would sometimes talk about the British rule in India and how they managed things. But he would always use that as a practical example for us, how we should manage things. Sometimes he would talk about, recent Indian history, but he would do it in such a way that he would point out how a person was either acting, in a genuinely spiritual way, or whether it was just a mundane thing. He would relate it to, say the degradation of Indian culture and why the Vedic culture was disappearing, whatever. But Prabhupada had this unique ability to see Krishna in everything and to explain things in such a way that we could also see it. He was always teaching, and Prabhupada was very conscious of the fact that he was always teaching us at every moment. He had, there was no private life for Srila Prabhupada. His life was the life of an acharya, so it meant that he was, in the spotlight, so to speak, at every moment of every day. And he was remarkably consistent. That was another feature also that I appreciated, was that Prabhupada's absolute regularity in what he was doing always amazed me. We traveled all around the world, and he would keep the same schedule. He would do the same things day in, day out, and be completely steady and not disturbed at all. And he would be up in the middle of the night translating his books. He would go out for his morning walk. He would take his massages. He would have his meals at the same time, no matter what. It didn't matter where we were going. Now, I was suffering jet lag, as we traveled around. Prabhupada seemed completely impervious to it. It just didn't seem to affect him. He would just go right on. And as soon as we arrived in a new place, he would immediately be into his schedule, and that was it. He never showed any sign of, fatigue or disturbance at all.
One big businessman, he came, and he was saying, Swamiji, I have this factory here in Delhi, and I have that factory in Zonpur, and he gave a list of his things, and then he said, I have all this, but I can't sleep. So Prabhupada looks at him and he says, that is why you can't sleep. You give all this to me, then you can peacefully sleep. So then he turns to somebody who was sitting there, and he said, I think it was Gopal Krishnaji. He said, take his address. So this man says, no, Swamiji, I can come anytime. You can come anytime, but we should also be able to come anytime. Take his address. And then he was ready, So yes. And said, no, Swamiji. Prabhupada said, no, take his address. We will relieve you of your problem. You give some of these things to Krishna, then you will be peaceful. And he was like smashed right there. And he did give his address. He had to.